Channel 103 Coronavirus News Special. Your questions answered.
It's 8 minutes past 9, so yes, now on Channel 103 we'll be answering your questions about coronavirus, or more specifically, we'd like to address those questions that the youngest members of our community have. So, children, this is all about you. You'll be on the second day of home learning, some on the first, missing out on school activities, wanting to see your friends. Life does feel a bit different, no doubt at all. And we're very pleased that Jersey's Children's Commissioner, Deborah McMillan, is joining us to talk through some of what is going on. Deborah isn't in the studio with me, nor are we on Facebook Live this morning for that reason. She's online so we can adhere to social distancing rules to keep each other safe. So, good morning, Deborah.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for staying safe over there. We've got loads of questions. You can get a question to Deborah by calling 888-103. Submit your questions via the Channel 103 Facebook page. Email studio@channel103.com. Text 07797 887 103 or through our app on your phone. If you're a young person with a question for Deborah, get in touch. Ask permission from the bill payer. She's here to listen to your concerns and worries. So, first of all, Deborah, let's talk about your role and how you are using it to react to what is happening right now.
Thank you. I mean, lots of children should know about the Children's Commissioner because they've been learning about their children's rights in schools. My job and the job of my team essentially is to make sure that children know that they've got rights. They understand what they are, and my job is to make sure that their rights are respected. What we want is for all children and young people in Jersey to be as safe and as happy as possible.
Brilliant, thank you. And you know, Rights Respecting Schools Initiative, UNICEF Rights of the Child. So many more children are so much savvier on this now, but you are there as a point of contact to make absolutely sure our children are respected. And with the current situation going on, obviously there's a lot of questions going to be asked. So if there's any chance that daily lives have been impacted on, for example, one of the questions in older teenagers don't believe the restrictions are necessary. How can we get them to understand the severity of the situation, Deborah?
Yes, it's really difficult. We want to give children reassurance, but at the same time, all children and young people just need to know how important it is that we follow the government's advice. You know, this virus and the whole world's response to it, not just Jersey's, this is the biggest challenge we faced in a really long time, and we all have to work together to make sure that we can all continue to be safe and healthy.
It is like this virus knows no age, it knows no colour, creed, religion, boundary, it knows nothing. It is universal, it is a leveller, and so we're all in this together. And yes, we all are being affected. Another question for you. It says here, morning, can you please ask Deborah if she has any advice for separated families in relation to children moving between homes during this time? It's a fine balance between protecting the children and the rest of both families from the virus, whilst not causing the children and the rest of both families more distress in this difficult time, says Alison.
Yeah, and, you know, life's difficult for some children on an ordinary day. And so during the current period, some children are going to feel extra specially anxious. What we want to do is make sure that children can develop new routines. Life will still carry on. They'll still be able to see the people that they care about, but their routines are just going to have to change so that we can make sure that it's safe. There's absolutely no problem with children seeing their mum or their dad or other sets of carers, as long as they keep following the social distancing advice.
It really is as simple. This, in fact, if anything, this will glue us together more as a society. But we have to keep a distance. So it really doesn't matter the age of the person in question. However, we have another question in regarding, quotes, our lovely children. I have two older teenagers and was thinking how best to support them if they became ill. Now, I know that might be a medical question, but still, from your point of view, how do we look out for them?
I think we've all got a duty to look out for each other, and I mean every islander whoever we are, as more families are retreating to their homes following the government advice, there's a role just to keep an eye out. So whether you are the person delivering the post or delivering some food, or if you're a neighbour, just observing what's going on, the really important thing is just to keep an eye out for us all. And, not to be afraid to ask those questions. How are you? Are you feeling anxious? Would you like some help? And if I may, I'd just like to share the government helpline for people who are worried about children and young people and their health. And that is 519000. So we'd be more than happy for people to call that government number just to get some advice and some help, but particularly if they're feeling stressed or anxious.
Yeah, 519000 for any advice. And of course, advice here now as well. That previous one continued. It's a very scary time for them. I want to support them mentally whilst being able to care for them while they are ill, particularly if we have to isolate them to one room. So, again, a lot of this is common sense, but what we have noticed with some of the things that have been going on, not just locally, but generally across the world, is common sense seems to be in short supply in some quarters. We're asking people just to take care of each other. Morning, could you please ask the Children's Commissioner to do more pictures in your info of what they want people to do and put information in simple language to ease communication for all. It says here, I work in schools and the children are not sure what a lot of this information means.
Yeah, it's a really great point. Families and caregivers, take a look at our website, which is www.childcomjersey.org.je, or indeed the government website, gov.je. They will find now a whole range of infographics and some clear messages, and also in different languages. And each week we're putting up more and more information as it's being produced. And what's really great about this virus is that people are coming together to share resources. Now, whether they're educational resources for families to use at home, or other resources just for fun, or information resources, it's brilliant that these are being made widely available.
Excellent. And again, if you're missing any of this, we will have it for you later, but 519000, you'll be able to contact Deborah and the team. So, another question for you. Many pupils, this is regarding education side of things, many pupils didn't receive, didn't revise like they would have for the proper, in inverted commas, GCSE exams, and they're concerned that they're going to be graded on the mock results. What advice do you have for them? And they're very obvious concerns that through no fault of their own, they may be penalised with the results they get.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a massive worry for lots of island children. Closing our schools wasn't a decision taken lightly, and we know that it is going to have a major impact on children's right to an education. But what I do know is that your teachers know you best, and they know whether you've been coasting along and not really trying hard enough, and they do know your real talents. That's their job, after all. And so I'm sure that when the examination boards make some decisions about your results, they'll be taking into account not just mock exams, but how your progress has been, throughout the past few years in key stages 3 and 4. And your teachers will be right now working on what your teacher assessments have said, because we don't want any children to be impacted disproportionately. But if you're worried, what I would say is your schools haven't closed, your teachers are still there. Get in touch with them and discuss your worries, and I'm sure they'll be able to put your mind at rest.
Yes, thanks. By the way, we're talking about the key workers, a lot of the teachers who are working really hard. Right now, our daughter should, in fact, be at school. We tried to persuade her to wear a school uniform, but she wasn't having it. Bless her. Our son James, I know he was very concerned because he didn't... we tried to explain to him the mock exams are for you to learn how to take an exam, basically, and so he didn't do quite as well in a couple of them, and I think he's really concerned, about how he'll be judged.
I think what we have to understand here is that it's the same for everybody, and it's the same for other children and young people across the whole of the UK, and therefore they won't be disproportionately affected.
No. Another question, will there be an ability to appeal if they are not satisfied with their grades?
Yeah, I don't know the details. Obviously, these are questions for the Education Minister, so what I'll do is make a note of that and make sure that we can ask the Minister and get a question answered for you. But I'm sure that there will be an opportunity for children to discuss their predicted grades with their teachers.
Of course, it is very important to point out that Deborah, the Children's Commissioner, is not in government, as it were. You're aside from it, and so it would be nice if we get some answers along these things from somebody who sits behind the big table. So thank you. If you could put those questions to the Minister, that would be great.
We will do. And, the Education Minister and teachers, are going to be really understanding, because these are, at the end of the day, extraordinary times. And, there might be an opportunity to take retakes. I think the answer is we just don't know.
Yeah, and that's it. A lot of these questions, I think that they're coming from young people, and the bottom line is young people as well, don't like to not know what's going on. And so there's a whole load of unknown here, which leads me to the next question. And again, I think I know the answer you're going to give. Is there a chance the schools will be opening at September, or do you think it'll be sooner or later?
Well, just to reaffirm that schools are still open. It's just that not all children are going to school. And teachers right now, today, are preparing for those children who will still need to go to school to keep them safe, and also to make sure that their families, who are key workers, can continue to work in our hospitals and with our police force. What I will say is that your rights to an education don't stop just because of the virus, but also education doesn't always have to happen in the classroom. And I think, we're all learning that in the coming weeks and months, education is going to look really different. Teachers have been working hard to prepare for this. And what we're seeing now is obviously more online contact between teachers and their pupils.
I have to say, I've been, I don't want to throw the word proud around too lightly, but I mean really proud of the way that a lot of the schools have been reacting, and how much work they're putting into still educating. So I guess the question was based about when we can walk back through the doors of the schools. And again, it's an unknown. We just don't know. But education is supreme, and a lot of people are making a lot of effort to help out the young people of the island. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll be asking pretty soon, and I'll give you some chance to grab a cup of tea or something. We're going to go to a break shortly and ask more questions afterwards. But wrap your head around how we keep young people motivated to stay educated at home. We'll talk about that shortly, but in the meantime, Deborah, I'm going to skedoodle, and I'll be back shortly with you. So you stay right there, okay?
We'll see you again soon.
Channel 103. Channel 103, Coronavirus News Special. Your questions answered.
So, yes, I'm, not here. Deborah is over there. I'm here. Children's Commissioner Deborah McMillan answering questions about the concerns of children and parents of children. So, yes, Deborah, we talked a little bit before about how to keep the children motivated when they're at home, because I know a lot of them will just be looking at this as a chance to be on the devices, keeping out of the way in their rooms or whatever. So it's about keeping them motivated at home. So it's a good question that's been asked by a number of people. Any tips?
Yeah, do you know, the one that you talked about just now around the children putting on their school uniforms, might not seem as bizarre as it sounds, because one of the things that children like is, in fact, we all thrive on, is routines. Now, I think what we would advise families is to consider sitting down together and drawing up a timetable where you might factor in having, regular breaks, a play in the garden, having a lunch together, some, focus on schoolwork, a bit of time to do a bit of music or some drama or do a bit of PE. All of those things are ways of keeping motivated. But, what's really important for parents is that they keep themselves motivated as well. And one of the ways we can make sure that we support children from feeling anxious is to keep those adult conversations to ourselves and make sure that, we're continuously communicating with our children about what's going on, but not in a way that makes it all feel really scary for them. Timetables and using lots of resources that's on the internet is a good thing. But of course, one thing that we are sure about is that not everybody has digital access, and we're working hard with the government to make sure that children are not left behind because of that.
Excellent. Amber on email says, I'm a student and I want to know when we go back to school, as I'm in year 10 doing my GCSE and I need to learn the knowledge for our exams. And Amber, I guess, is talking about doing it at school. I guess the answer would be similar to the one we did before. So any tips for how she can access it, ask the questions?
Yep, certainly. I would say to Amber to keep in touch with your teachers. If you can get onto the computer, I know that a lot of our schools here use Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams and other programs so that you can continue to have your lessons. Do you know, teachers are just going completely out of their way to make sure that you can keep learning. Lots of teachers are uploading videos of lessons, all your lesson plans and resources have been dropped into these programs, so you should be able to keep on learning even though you're not in the school classroom.
A lot of teachers learning a lot about Zoom and all these other sharing platforms at great speed now.
Aren't we all?
Absolutely. So how about some practical tips? Firstly, to households with primary school aged children, maybe one or both parents working from home and stressing that they can't home teach and get their work done. How best can they manage if things are getting stressful and heated? Should they continue with lessons or find other things for the children to do?
I think what we have to remind ourselves is this is going to be really difficult for all of us as we adjust to our daily lives being completely different. As I said before, routine is really important for us adults as well as the children that we're looking after. But, don't beat yourself up about this. It's all right just to do a couple of hours of learning. I don't think we need to force children to sit down in a room between 9 and 3 and make sure that they do all of their lessons. I think all we do is make sure that children have a variety of different types of experiences during the day, that we do make sure that screen time doesn't dominate the whole of their day. I know that going outside, a walk in the garden, if you haven't got a garden, a walk out to the park or just along the street, as long as you're maintaining that social distance, is all part of being well together. And if I can also at this point talk about, for teenagers, the advice that you can get from the Yes Project, which is the over-the-phone support from the Government of Jersey Youth Service, if you are feeling a bit anxious.
I think a lot of parents are going to be learning an awful lot about how busy their children are at school, I should think. But there'll be plenty of information from the schools, and I know that a great many parents at the schools are in contact with them regularly to let them know exactly what's going on. So I guess more power to the schools, the teachers. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, and what's really important is that families continue to support each other. The family welfare comes first before everything else. And I think, again, one of the real positives we've seen out of this crisis is the community and grassroots offers, where education resources and other shared resources are out there for free, which is it's a wonderful connection that we're building that we haven't seen since, for 75 years. Children would have learnt about Liberation Day, and hopefully in May we can still celebrate it. But 75 years on from that, we're still talking about it. And what we're talking about is how the community of Jersey came together as an island to get through a really difficult situation. And that's what's happening now. We're seeing it, and this is a movement that's growing day by day. And children are in part of that as well. So whether it's getting your children to draw a rainbow and sticking it in the window, or whether it's about, making sure that elderly neighbours have got the help that they need. There's lots of opportunities to get involved in the community support.
It is lovely. It's hard to believe, Deborah, but I'm a grandfather as well, as having...
and I'm a granny too.
Blimey, surely not. Surely not. You look far too young, I felt obliged to say. And two of my granddaughters, they made a huge rainbow, stuck it in the window.
Wonderful.
And they're having a blast, I've got to say that mercifully. My daughter and Rob, her man, have been really, really helping the children along. So brilliant, and more power to parents. In fact, this may glue families in a way that's that very unexpected way. Yeah, so we can hope.
And hopefully it will become the new normal. I think we have become distracted, haven't we, by our very complicated lives. And, this is an opportunity to rethink lots of things. I'm sure many of us will be thinking about our futures in a whole different way and put in what's important first. And that is our family life and making sure that, we all look after each other and that we're all safe and happy.
Now, we've been talking about family harmony. However, this is worth highlighting. How about households with older children? Maybe they can do their work more independently. How can they help their parents to make for a harmonious household? Good question.
Crikey, yes, I remember those days very, very well. It's tough enough, isn't it, at the best of times when you're trying to bring up older teens. But, this is about us all changing the way that family life runs. What we're asking all children is to take some responsibility for keeping themselves healthy, so making sure that they follow the advice around hand washing and social distancing. And I think our message to teens is, look, you might feel that you're invincible, and indeed you might not feel poorly, but by being out and about in the community and not following the social distancing, you might be putting other people at risk, especially older people. I think one of the things we need to do is, help young people to express their anger in a way that's supportive and respect to, listen to each other. I know that one of our team, for their teenagers, have got them writing a journal so they can start to express their worries and their fears in that way, which is a good way.
Yes, good idea. So, somewhere to channel it, somewhere to focus it.
The other thing is that this is a role for teenagers to show us all how to use technology.
Yeah, brilliant. Yes, help us out.
They become the teachers.
Yeah, us oldies.
Absolutely.
I know, they know it amazingly.
It's about the whole household. Yeah, the whole household using their own skills to come together and learn from each other in a way that they wouldn't have bothered before.
Well, we sat down with our two, and we had we have a family conference every once in a while, and the thinking behind it is, look, we're all equal here. We have an equal vote. This isn't an autocracy. However, the buck's got to stop somewhere, so it might as well be with the parents. But what do you think? What do you feel? What do you want? How can we support you? How can you support us? We're a team, is a way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I think that more and more of that, fingers crossed, will happen. So, teenagers, please help. And, please feel free to, express yourself. But bear in mind that we're all in the same boat, as it were. What about the news? Yeah, sorry, you carry on, Deborah. Carry on.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say that I noticed that the Children's Commissioner in Ireland was tweeting about teenagers cleaning their rooms, which is always a big issue for parents when you're bringing up teenagers. But in all honesty, keeping your clothes clean and keeping the house clean will help to fight the spread of any infection. So, children of all ages, do keep your own space clean and tidy.
Good. I tell you, you should pop round visiting people when this is all safe, just telling teenagers that, particularly our daughter. What about the news? It says here, how much of it should we let our children watch and listen to? Should we make sure we are supervising their news consumption? Should we talk to them about what they see here, or wait for them to come to us with questions?
Yeah, really, really good question there. What's absolutely key here is communication is absolutely essential over the coming days and weeks to keep talking about what's going on. But, social media especially can often pass on false messages. And it can also really be difficult for your own healthy mental health. So what we would say is make sure that children and young people access communication in a way that's safe and appropriate. Newsround, for example, is brilliant for primary school children. And there are, other TV programs that are appropriate for teenagers. But I think, just as a parent, ask yourself, if you feel anxious watching the news, then it's definitely going to make your children feel anxious. So I would say make sure that the content that your children are accessing is appropriate. You'd be doing that anyway, but it's more important at this particular time. If, as a parent, you check out our own Children's Commissioner's Twitter feed, you'll find a really nice news round clip for younger children. So I'd advise you to go and have a look at that.
Excellent, because it's keeping age dependent, keeping them informed. Because what some people fail to understand is just because young children, particularly, just because they don't know as much as us, doesn't mean they're not clever. They're very clever and they want information. They're trying to build a map of their world, and this is a big part of it now. So basically inform them as much as they should know, answer their questions. And one of the points was made was a lot of my answers to my children are, I don't know, and it doesn't feel like enough reassurance. Okay. Yeah, okay.
But it's okay to say I don't know, I think.
Yeah, well, but we'll try and find out is a good one. We're looking to try and find out and help as much as we can. Maria says, I would like to ask Deborah about how parents with children with things such as ADHD are going to manage with not much help to keep children indoors for so long. Many families rely on respite care or support workers for their young people will be finding that distancing rules mean those breaks aren't possible as well. So what is your advice? So we've got two questions there. ADHD, how to keep them indoors for so long and how to manage, and respite care as well.
Yeah, one of the areas that we've been working hard with the government on is asking those questions on behalf of parents. We know that it's really hard for some families in ordinary times, and these are extraordinary times. So we have been asking the Children and Young People's and Education Service, how are you going to continue to support those families that rely on your extra help? And I know that the government are working hard on that and are in touch with families. And I know that there will be an opportunity for those families to continue to access support. It's just going to be in a slightly different way. With regards to the families whose children have ADHD or other learning difficulties, then again, what we would say is try and develop a new routine that you can stick to. We know that the Autism Jersey website has lots of advice and guidance, but if you're really struggling and it just is a bit too much, then do call that number I gave you earlier, 519000, which is the Government Children and Families Hub, and they will be able to give you some advice and some help.
Thank you. It's 519000. I'm talking to Children's Commissioner Deborah McMillan. We'll have some more questions for her shortly.
Channel 103. Channel 103. Coronavirus News Special. Your questions answered.
Yes, with me today on the phone, Children's Commissioner Deborah McMillan. Deborah, thanks so much for doing this. We really appreciate that you've come on today to answer the questions. The UK announced stricter measures last night and said they'll be in place for at least 3 weeks. Yeah. More announcements due to come here on Ireland too. We could do with a few more, to be totally honest. As time goes on, it'll become harder to stop teenagers wanting to socialise, to get out there. Because, I was a teenager for a few years ways back when, and I remember that we all thought that we were like invincible back then. So many will be chatting online as well, more of that, which has its own risks. Yeah. What should parents and young people be on guard for?
Children live in one world. They don't have a virtual online world and a non-online world. It is just their world. I think we're more frightened of it than they are. But of course, as parents, we all have a responsibility to make sure that that online world is safe. And again, there's lots of information out there online that it gives tips to parents, and we can put some links to those on our own website to save you going and looking for them. So if you check out our website later on today, you'll see some tips there. But it's not a problem to ask your teens around what you're looking at, asking them to make sure that some of the basic checks and balances are in place. That way we can make sure that they can continue to socialise, continue to access information, which is all really important, but can continue to do that safely.
It is interesting, isn't it? Ways back when, our idea of a certain age of socialisation was actually to go out, see people, meet them, but now it's become so much easier to do it online that you're quite right. We have in our minds, us older people, there are two lives. There's the online life and there's the real life. But for young people, it's the same thing. It's just a part of it, and they're inextricably attached to each other. So yeah, it's just a case of never being concerned about asking them, what you're up to, what you're looking at. Can I have a look at that, please, just to keep them safe, I guess. And it's about, what are your thoughts on the line between showing care from where you are as a parent and, from the children's point of view, invasion of privacy? Yeah, absolutely. And, we've been spending the last couple of years teaching children and young people that they've got rights, and one of their really important rights is the right to privacy. All children and young people have the right to keep some things private, and that doesn't mean, though, that adults can't ask questions in a manner to make sure that our children are safe. So yes, of course, we wouldn't ordinarily be flicking through our teen's diary or peering over their shoulder all of the time that they're online. So we must respect their right to keep things private. But also, as parents and caregivers, we've got a right to keep children safe. In fact, it's a duty, an obligation on us all. And you keep children safe by just communicating and, asking those questions. Now, thanks for that, by the way. Money worries as well. How much should we talk to them about that at home? What age of children do you think can this topic be addressed? Because obviously a lot of families may need to start watching their spending much more with how this is an economic crisis as well as a health crisis. Addressing children about money, because obviously they're online, they'll want their things, their stuff. Children still want, whether they can have it or not. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we know that a lot of families in Jersey struggle ordinarily. Day-to-day living is hard work. Parents have to carry out lots of jobs. Some parents have more than one job, and they're worrying, without having this extra burden of the virus. And what we know is they're being told to self-isolate, then it's going to increase that burden and that worry. And, adults will be worried about paying the mortgage, paying the rent, and having enough food to eat. But what we know is that the government have launched and are supporting a strong community response. So we now have a centralised food bank. So there are ways in which families can get support, and it's important that we get that message out to families. But, also it is an opportunity to talk to children about that and to learn about budgeting. Financial worries shouldn't be children's worries, but we can teach them about how to, cut down on electricity bills by turning off lights behind us. The sorts of conversations that we would be having anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that people will be spending a lot more time with their family in closer quarters. So once upon a time it was maybe, certainly in our house, basically they come back from school. Hello, how was your day? It was fine, thank you. And then straight up to the room. So it was nice to see you when they come down for dinner. So, yeah. Oh, what have you been up to? Nothing. That kind of thing. Many parents nodding at that. That's it, yeah. How are you? Fine. Tell us what happened today in your day. Usual
Nothing.
stuff. Yeah, nothing. It was all right. That's your standard conversation. Now, I'm aware that there may be in family groups certain tensions because spending time in the same place under the same roof, it sounds like Shangri-La from a distance, but for a good amount of time. So, I know it's a difficult one to throw at you, but any advice for family groups so they can manage their time together more successfully?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, the way the decisions that have been made by the government of Jersey is we can still go outside of the house as long as we're practicing social distancing. So it's not a problem to go out for a walk and get some fresh air and, let off a bit of steam by kicking a ball around in the park. So that's one way in which, we can help. Of course, if the measures change to become measures such as have been announced for the UK, that makes it a little bit harder. But for the moment, that's an option open for us. But yeah, you and I both know it's tough bringing up teenagers. I've brought up 3. And it's difficult. But for those families who, may live in challenging home environments, then there is extra help out there for them. The government have worked really hard to make sure that children and young people can stay safe. And there's going to be extra visits and contact from social workers, from youth workers, from teachers, to make sure that if things are tough at home, then children and young people have got someone to talk to. So don't let it boil up. Don't let those tensions simmer. Get help. You can speak to Childline. I've got somewhere the number of that written down, 0800 1111. Equally, you can speak to, the Youth Service Project, and you can ring the Child and Families Hub. And again, on our website, as well as the government's website, there's lots of numbers that you can call or text messages that you can send if you're feeling pressured being cooped up together.
So we're looking at the Youth Service, do sterling work, you can contact them. Childline 0800 1111. Well found, by the way, the number. Good work. Your number, 519000. The Child and Families Hub. There are all sorts of resources out there. If you could, if you need to reach out, and whether you be a young person or a parent for advice, for help. Do you have, overall, as a parent yourself who's had 3 children, Lord knows I've had 5, so we're veterans. We've been there. Yes. Best advice overall for a parent, shall we say, to help, it's the best advice. If somebody said to you, if you could give one piece of advice to a parent, what would that be?
That's a really difficult one, isn't it? I think the advice has to be around having conversations. Communication is absolutely essential because the situation is changing every single day, in fact, almost hour by hour. So keep those clear communication channels open. Manage your own well-being. So if parents' well-being is good, then they're going to be able to manage their children's well-being better. Don't be hard on yourself. You are already doing the best that you can. So my message to parents is keep going with it, because at the end of the day, you have got the power. This is temporary. You're not alone. As parents and children, young people, you can handle this. We are all stronger than how we feel most of the time.
I think you're right there. Again, now that's the parents' advice for any young ones listening, primary school-aged children. Anything you could say to them, because they may be out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the advice is the same. That this isn't forever. It's a new way for all of us to live our daily lives, but we're in it together. Get support from your friends. Keep talking to them. And this will pass. And as I said, there's lots of places where you can go to for help. The government phone number for the Child and Families Hub is 519000. But don't forget that we're still here too. My team might not be in the office, but they're there ready to help you. And so, if you feel that you want some support, and you would like us to give you advice, then you can contact us via our website or our phone number. If you ring us, we won't be able to answer directly, but somebody will get straight back to you.
Thank you. Wonderful team. They'll be listening now, I should think. Something to finish up this, because a lot of people will get out the board games now, which will be really good. Your favourite family game to play with the guys? What would you recommend? We'll take that from you.
Oh goodness! I'm actually a board game geek.
Oh yeah, cool, brilliant.
Last board game. Oh no, love it. In fact, I've still got a lot full. The last board game I played with my grandson was Operation.
Oh, brilliant.
Remember that one?
Yeah, it makes a beepy noise. You try and pull out his appendix or whatever it is. That's cool.
It does beepy noise. But here's a fact for you. Sally in my team, her dad is an inventor of board games. Now, she'll probably kill me for saying it, but has invented some very well-known board games.
Brilliant. Sally's dad, thank you so much. You'll be helping us one way or the other.
Definitely.
I must say thank you so much to you, Deborah McMillan, Children's Commissioner, for joining us from a distance on the line. You've been a star. Thank you very much indeed. I hope that you and yours stay healthy and safe, and thank you so much for looking out for us parents and the children on this island. Thank you so much for joining us, Deborah. Thank you.
No trouble. Thank you for having us too.
Not at all. You stay safe and healthy. That's Deborah McMillan, Children's Commissioner. We thank her again.